The morning sun cast long shadows across the remote training facility in Nevada as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted her prone position behind the massive Barrett M82A1. The .50 caliber rifle stretched nearly 5 feet in front of her, its bipod legs digging into the sandy earth. At 26, Maria had already earned a reputation as one of the most skilled marksmen in the U.S. Army, but today felt different. Today, she was attempting something that would either cement her legacy or become a cautionary tale whispered in sniper circles. Commander Jake Morrison of SEAL Team 6 had arrived at the facility 3 days earlier with his usual swagger and skepticism. Word had reached him about a female Army sniper who claimed she could make shots that seasoned operators deemed impossible. Morrison had seen plenty of hotshots come and go during his 15 years in special operations. Most crumbled under pressure when it mattered most. He'd agreed to observe this demonstration primarily to debunk what he assumed was another case of range heroics that wouldn't translate to real combat. Range is 3,847 meters, called out Master Sergeant Rodriguez, the range safety officer, his voice cutting through the desert air. Wind speed variable between 8 and 12 knots from the southwest. Temperature rising to 94 degrees. Humidity at 18%. Maria's breathing remained steady as she processed the environmental data. The shot she was attempting stretched beyond the effective range of most sniper systems. At nearly 2.5 miles, the bullet would face a journey of over 4 seconds through changing wind conditions, temperature variations, and the relentless pull of gravity. The target itself was barely visible even through her high-powered scope, a steel plate measuring 18 inches square, painted bright orange to provide any chance of visibility at such an extreme distance. Commander Morrison stood 30 feet behind the firing position, arms crossed, watching through military-grade binoculars. He'd positioned himself where he could observe both the shooter and the target simultaneously. His initial assessment of Santos had been mixed. She carried herself with quiet confidence rather than the bravado he expected from someone attempting such a publicity stunt. Her equipment was immaculate, her pre-shot routine methodical and professional. Still, Morrison had witnessed too many failures to get excited about another long-range attempt. The Barrett M82A1 in Maria's hands was more than just a rifle, it was a precision instrument weighing 30 pounds when fully loaded. The .50 BMG cartridge she'd chambered contained enough powder to propel a 750-grain bullet at over 2,800 feet per second. At the distance she was attempting, that bullet would drop more than 40 feet due to gravity alone, requiring her to aim at a point high above the actual target. Wind drift could push the projectile several feet in any direction. Temperature changes along the bullet's path would affect air density and trajectory in ways that even experienced snipers struggled to calculate. Maria had spent the previous 2 days studying weather patterns, wind flows, and atmospheric conditions at the range. She'd mapped temperature variations at different altitudes, calculated air density changes throughout the day, and recorded wind patterns at various distances downrange. Her data book contained pages of handwritten calculations, environmental readings, and trajectory predictions. This wasn't a lucky shot attempt, it was the culmination of months of preparation and years of experience compressed into a single moment. The rifle's muzzle brake was designed to redirect gases and reduce felt recoil, but, at this caliber, the concussion would still be substantial. Maria had positioned herself to absorb the recoil straight back through her body, her left hand gripping the rifle's stock while her right hand maintained a consistent trigger finger placement. Her cheek weld against the stock was firm but not tense, allowing her to maintain the same sight picture she'd practiced thousands of times. Commander Morrison checked his watch. The demonstration was scheduled for 0900 hours, when atmospheric conditions were most stable. Wind patterns tended to be more predictable in the early morning before thermal updrafts created additional complications. Temperature was still climbing toward its daily peak, but the rate of change remained manageable. If Santos was going to attempt this shot, now was the optimal window. "Spotter ready," announced Corporal Jenkins, positioned beside Maria with a high-powered spotting scope. Jenkins had worked with Maria on dozens of previous shoots and understood her methods better than anyone. His job was to call wind conditions, confirm target acquisition, and provide immediate feedback on bullet impact. At this range, even seeing the bullet strike would be challenging without perfect atmospheric conditions. Maria's scope was dialed to maximum magnification, revealing the target as a small orange square wavering in the heat mirage. The crosshairs appeared steady, but she knew that any tremor in her position would translate to massive deviation at the target. Her heart rate had slowed to its typical shooting rhythm, a trained response developed through years of competitive shooting and combat deployments. Each heartbeat created a brief window of natural respiratory pause where her body remained perfectly still. The wind had been her primary concern during preparation. At 3,847 meters, the bullet would encounter multiple wind zones with potentially different speeds and directions. Weather stations positioned at 1,000-meter intervals downrange provided real-time data, but interpreting that information required experience that couldn't be taught in any manual. Maria had learned to read environmental signs that most shooters never noticed, the way grass moved at different distances, how heat mirage patterns revealed wind direction changes, subtle variations in dust movement that indicated atmospheric conditions. Commander Morrison found himself genuinely curious about Santos's approach. Unlike other shooters he'd observed, she wasn't rushing toward the shot. Her pre-fire routine had lasted nearly 15 minutes, methodically checking every variable that could affect bullet trajectory. She'd consulted her data book multiple times, made minute adjustments to her scope settings, and confirmed range readings with 3 different measuring devices. Professional thoroughness like this suggested serious preparation rather than hopeful amateur hour. The target zone had been carefully selected for this attempt. The 3,847-meter distance placed the target on a ridgeline that provided a clear backstop for safety while offering an unobstructed flight path for the bullet. Surveying equipment had confirmed the exact distance to within centimeters. The steel target was mounted on a frame designed to provide both audio and visual confirmation of hits. At this range, the sound of impact would take over 11 seconds to return to the firing position. Maria's trigger control represented years of refinement. The Barrett's trigger had been professionally adjusted to break at exactly 3.5 pounds of pressure with minimal travel and no over-travel. Her finger pad contacted the trigger at the precise same point every time, applying pressure straight back without any sideways movement that could disturb the rifle's alignment. The break would come as a surprise even to her, a sign of proper trigger technique that prevented the shooter from anticipating recoil. Atmospheric conditions were beginning their daily shift as the sun climbed higher. Temperature differential between the firing position and target area was creating mild heat mirage effects that would only worsen as the day progressed. Barometric pressure had been stable for the past 48 hours, providing consistent air density for ballistic calculations. Humidity remained low, reducing air resistance that could affect bullet velocity over the extended flight path. Commander Morrison had witnessed world-class snipers attempt similar shots without success. The Canadian sniper who held the previous longest confirmed kill had benefited from perfect atmospheric conditions and extensive preparation time. Even with those advantages, his shot had required multiple attempts before achieving success. Santos was claiming she could accomplish this feat in a single attempt during a scheduled demonstration. Morrison's skepticism remained strong, but his respect for her preparation was growing. The rifle's scope had been zeroed at 1,000 meters during previous sessions, requiring significant holdover adjustments for the extended range. Maria's calculations indicated she needed to aim nearly 6 feet above the target to compensate for bullet drop. Wind compensation required an additional 3-foot adjustment to the left based on current conditions. These adjustments were theoretical until the moment of impact. Environmental changes during the bullet's 4-second flight could render even perfect calculations useless. Spotter Corporal Jenkins maintained constant communication with downrange weather stations, receiving updated wind readings every 30 seconds. Conditions remained within acceptable parameters, but the window was narrowing as thermal effects increased. Maria knew she had perhaps 10 more minutes of optimal shooting conditions before atmospheric instability made the shot significantly more difficult. The moment had arrived. Maria's breathing settled into its final rhythm as she prepared to fire. Commander Morrison raised his binoculars toward the distant target, despite knowing he'd need to wait several seconds after the shot to see any results. The range fell silent except for the whisper of wind across the desert landscape. In a few seconds, they would know whether months of preparation and years of training would culminate in a record-breaking achievement or an expensive miss in the Nevada sand. The Barrett M82A1 erupted with a thunderous crack that echoed across the Nevada desert, its muzzle brake directing gases sideways in brilliant flashes. Maria Santos rode the recoil expertly, maintaining her sight picture as the massive rifle bucked against her shoulder. The .50 BMG cartridge launched its 750-grain projectile downrange at 2,820 feet per second, beginning a journey that would test every calculation she'd made over the past months. Commander Morrison started his mental countdown the moment he heard the shot. For seconds, that's how long the bullet would need to traverse 3,847 meters of desert air. He kept his binoculars trained on the distant target, knowing that even if the shot connected, seeing the impact would require perfect atmospheric conditions and considerable luck. The heat mirage was already making distant observations challenging, and it was still early morning. Corporal Jenkins, serving as spotter, maintained his position behind the high-powered spotting scope. His trained eye tracked the bullet's vapor trail through the scope for the first 1,000 meters before atmospheric conditions made further tracking impossible. "Shot away clean," he reported, confirming that the bullet had left the barrel without any visible instabilities that might affect its trajectory. During those 4 seconds of flight time, Maria's bullet encountered the exact environmental challenges she'd spent days calculating. At the 800-meter mark, it passed through a thermal layer where rising desert air created turbulence that pushed the projectile slightly left of its intended path. Wind conditions shifted twice during the bullet's journey as it crossed different terrain features that created local wind patterns. The bullet dropped 38 feet due to gravity while simultaneously being pushed 4 feet eastward by crosswinds. The steel target, measuring 18 inches square and painted bright orange for visibility, waited motionless on its frame at the far end of the range. Surveying equipment had confirmed its position to the exact centimeter. The target's mounting system was designed to provide both visual and audio confirmation of impacts, though at this distance, sound would take over 11 seconds to return to the firing line. Commander Morrison found himself genuinely invested in the outcome despite his initial skepticism. Santos had demonstrated a level of preparation and professionalism that impressed even his experienced standards. Her pre-shot routine had been textbook perfect, her equipment was properly maintained, and her approach showed the kind of methodical thinking he valued in special operations personnel. If anyone could make this shot, it might actually be her. The seconds stretched as everyone on the firing line waited for confirmation. Maria remained in position behind the Barrett, maintaining her sight picture through the scope despite knowing the shot was already complete. This was standard procedure, staying on target until impact confirmation prevented any shooter movement that might affect follow-up shots if needed. Her breathing remained controlled, her heart rate steady, showing the mental discipline that separated professional snipers from weekend shooters. At exactly 4 1/10 seconds after the shot, a small puff of dust appeared near the target zone. Jenkins immediately adjusted his spotting scope's focus and magnification, straining to identify the impact location. The heat mirage made precise observation difficult, but he could see disturbance in the area around the target. Possible impact vicinity of target, he reported, maintaining professional protocols while trying to determine exact results. Commander Morrison's binoculars revealed the same dust cloud, but he couldn't confirm a direct hit from his position. At this range, a near miss could create similar visual signatures as environmental factors affected observation. They would need audio confirmation or closer inspection to verify results. The sound of impact, if it had occurred, would arrive in approximately 7 more seconds. Maria finally lifted her head from the scope, her face showing calm concentration rather than anxiety. She'd felt good about the shot the moment it broke, her trigger pull had been clean, her sight picture had been perfect, and the rifle had reacted exactly as expected. Years of experience had taught her to trust her preparation and execution rather than worry about factors beyond her control. Environmental conditions during the bullet's flight were now part of history. The range safety officer, Master Sergeant Rodriguez, was monitoring communications with the downrange observation post located near the target area. Personnel stationed there had better equipment and closer proximity to provide definitive confirmation of shot results. Radio chatter indicated they were examining the target zone, but official confirmation hadn't yet been transmitted to the firing line. 11 seconds after the initial shot, a sharp metallic ring echoed across the desert, the unmistakable sound of a high-velocity bullet striking steel. The sound signature was clean and clear, indicating a solid hit rather than a grazing impact or near miss. Jenkins immediately confirmed audio impact through his headset, while Rodriguez received simultaneous confirmation from the downrange observation post. Confirmed hit, Rodriguez announced, his voice carrying across the now silent firing line. Direct impact, center target zone. Commander Morrison lowered his binoculars slowly, processing what had just occurred. In 15 years of special operations, he'd witnessed many impressive feats of marksmanship, but nothing approaching this level of precision at such an extreme range. Santos had just accomplished something that most military snipers would consider impossible under field conditions. The implications were staggering. Maria Santos had officially broken the longest confirmed sniper shot record by over 400 meters. Her 3,847-meter shot exceeded the previous record of 3,540 meters set by a Canadian Special Forces sniper in Iraq. More importantly for Commander Morrison, she'd accomplished this feat during a single demonstration attempt rather than through multiple tries under controlled conditions. This suggested capabilities that could prove invaluable in operational scenarios. The technical achievement represented more than just exceptional shooting. The ballistic calculations required for this shot involved complex mathematics that most shooters never attempted. Environmental factors at this range created variables that even computer modeling struggled to predict accurately. Santos had somehow integrated all these factors into a successful engagement while working under observation pressure that would rattle experienced snipers. Rodriguez received detailed confirmation from the downrange team via radio. Impact location is 4 inches left of center, 6 inches high, he reported. Well within the target zone parameters. Shot group analysis confirms single impact, clean penetration through the steel plate. The precision was remarkable, at nearly 2.5 miles, being off by 6 inches was essentially a perfect shot. Commander Morrison approached the firing position where Maria was beginning to secure her equipment. The Barrett M82A1 was too valuable and sensitive to leave exposed to desert conditions, so she followed standard procedures for post-firing equipment care. The rifle's barrel would need time to cool, and all optical equipment required protection from sand and temperature extremes. Sergeant Santos, Morrison said, his tone respectful rather than congratulatory. That was an exceptional demonstration. I'd like to discuss some opportunities that might interest you. His mind was already working through the implications of what he'd witnessed. Special operations units always needed personnel who could perform beyond normal parameters, and Santos had just proven capabilities that few people in the world possessed. Maria looked up from her equipment with the same calm expression she'd maintained throughout the entire demonstration. Thank you, Commander. I appreciate you taking the time to observe. Her response was professional and measured, showing none of the excitement or relief that might be expected after such an achievement. This level of emotional control under pressure was another positive indicator for Morrison. The shot's success had implications beyond just setting a new record. At 3,847 meters, Maria had demonstrated the ability to engage targets at distances that exceeded the effective range of most counter-sniper systems. This capability could provide unprecedented tactical advantages in specific operational scenarios. Morrison was already considering how such skills might be applied in environments where conventional approaches had proven inadequate. Corporal Jenkins completed his post-shot procedures and approached with the spotting scope data. Ma'am, atmospheric conditions remained stable throughout the shot window. Wind variance was minimal, temperature differential stayed within predicted parameters. Conditions couldn't have been better for the attempt. His analysis confirmed that while conditions had been favorable, they weren't unusually perfect. Santos could potentially repeat this performance under similar circumstances. Word of the successful shot was already spreading throughout the facility. Personnel who had been skeptical about the attempt were now requesting details about equipment, ammunition, and technique. Maria's achievement would be studied and analyzed by sniper schools and special operations units worldwide. The technical data from this shot would contribute to advancing long-range shooting doctrine and capabilities. Commander Morrison was particularly interested in the preparation methodology that had made this shot possible. Santos hadn't succeeded through luck or exceptional equipment alone. Her success resulted from systematic preparation, environmental analysis, and technical expertise that could be studied and, potentially, replicated. Understanding her approach could benefit other military snipers attempting to extend their effective ranges. The immediate celebration was modest, reflecting the professional military environment where exceptional performance was acknowledged but not sensationalized. Maria secured her equipment methodically, recorded final environmental data in her shooting log, and prepared to participate in the detailed debrief that would follow. Every aspect of the successful shot would be documented for future reference and training purposes. As the morning sun climbed higher and heat mirage began affecting visibility downrange, the optimal shooting window was closing. Maria's timing had been perfect. Waiting even 30 more minutes might have made the shot significantly more difficult due to changing atmospheric conditions. Experience and patience had been as crucial to her success as technical shooting skills. The debrief session took place in the facility's climate-controlled operations center, where Maria Santos sat across from Commander Morrison and a panel of military observers. Charts displaying ballistic data, environmental readings, and trajectory calculations covered the walls around them. The successful 3,847-meter shot had generated intense interest from multiple military branches, each wanting to understand how such precision had been achieved under field conditions. "Walk us through your preparation methodology," Morrison requested, his notebook ready to capture details that might prove valuable for SEAL operations. "Start with how you selected the ammunition load and work through your environmental analysis process." Maria's response revealed the depth of preparation behind her record-breaking shot. She'd spent 6 months developing a custom ammunition load specifically for extreme-range shooting. Working with military armorers, she tested dozens of bullet weights, powder charges, and primer combinations to find the optimal ballistic performance for the Barrett M82A1. The final load used a 750-grain AMAX bullet with a boat tail design that reduced drag during the extended flight path. "Consistency was everything," Maria explained, displaying ammunition boxes containing cartridges that looked identical to standard military rounds but represented hours of precision handloading. Each cartridge was weighed to within 0.2 of a grain. Powder charges were measured using laboratory-grade scales. Even the cases were sorted by weight and capacity to eliminate variables that could affect accuracy. Commander Morrison took extensive notes as Maria detailed her environmental analysis procedures. She'd studied weather patterns at the Nevada facility for 3 months, identifying optimal shooting windows when atmospheric conditions provided the best chance for success. Temperature differentials, wind patterns, and barometric pressure changes all factored into her calculations. This level of preparation went far beyond typical military sniper training. The ballistic calculations Maria had developed were complex enough to challenge most engineering graduates. At 3,847 meters, bullet drop exceeded 40 feet due to gravity alone. Wind drift calculations required accounting for changing conditions across multiple terrain features that created different wind zones along the bullet's path. Even the Earth's rotation became a factor at such extreme distances. The Coriolis effect would deflect the bullet several inches during its 4-second flight time. "The real breakthrough came from my range sessions at different distances," Maria continued, pulling out a detailed logbook filled with handwritten data. "I shot at 1,000-meter increments leading up to the record attempt, documenting how environmental factors affected bullet performance at each range. This gave me confidence in my calculations when I extrapolated to 3,847 meters. Colonel Peterson, the facility commander, was particularly interested in the equipment modifications Maria had made. The Barrett M82A1 she'd used wasn't a standard military configuration. Several components had been upgraded or customized for extreme-range precision. The trigger had been professionally adjusted to provide a crisp, consistent break. The barrel had been professionally crowned to ensure a uniform gas release. Even the bipod legs had been modified to provide more stable contact with varied terrain. Morrison was already considering how these techniques might apply to special operations missions where extreme-range capabilities could provide tactical advantages. SEAL teams often operated in environments where engaging targets beyond conventional sniper ranges would eliminate enemy counter-sniper threats and provide unprecedented operational flexibility. Santos had just proven that such capabilities were achievable with proper preparation. The scope system Maria used represented the current state of military optics technology, but her application went beyond simply mounting expensive equipment. She'd spent weeks learning to read atmospheric conditions through the scope's image quality. Heat mirage patterns revealed wind direction changes. Slight color variations indicated temperature differentials that would affect bullet trajectory. These observation skills couldn't be taught from manuals, they required extensive field experience. "What's your assessment of repeatability?" asked Major Williams from the Army Marksmanship Unit. "Could you achieve similar results under different environmental conditions or time pressure?" Maria's response demonstrated the confidence that came from thorough preparation rather than lucky success. With adequate preparation time and favorable conditions, yes. The key factors are environmental analysis and ammunition consistency. Remove those variables, and the shooting portion becomes an application of established techniques. It's not mystical, it's applied physics and engineering. Commander Morrison was impressed by her analytical approach to what many considered an art form. Military snipers often developed almost superstitious attachments to equipment and techniques that worked for them personally. Santos treated long-range shooting as an engineering problem that could be solved through systematic analysis and preparation. This mindset aligned perfectly with special operations thinking. The discussion shifted to operational applications for extreme-range capabilities. Traditional sniper doctrine emphasized shots within 800 meters where wind and environmental factors remained manageable for average shooters. Extending effective range to nearly 4,000 meters would fundamentally change tactical planning for missions involving enemy snipers, high-value target elimination, or area denial operations. Maria shared data from her previous deployments where conventional range limitations had created tactical challenges. In Afghanistan's mountainous terrain, enemy fighters often established positions beyond effective small arms range, knowing that coalition forces couldn't engage them accurately. Extreme-range sniper capability would eliminate such safe havens and potentially change enemy behavior patterns significantly. The technical data from Maria's record shot was being analyzed by multiple military research organizations. The bullet's trajectory, environmental interactions, and terminal performance at extreme range provided valuable information for advancing military marksmanship doctrine. Computer modeling systems would incorporate this real-world data to improve accuracy predictions for future long-range engagements. Morrison was particularly interested in Maria's mental preparation techniques. Shooting at extreme ranges required exceptional concentration and emotional control, factors that often determine success or failure under pressure. Military special operations placed enormous emphasis on psychological resilience, and Santos had demonstrated remarkable composure throughout the demonstration. Pressure management comes from confidence and preparation, Maria explained when asked about her mental approach. "I knew my equipment was properly configured. I'd calculated environmental factors as accurately as possible. My shooting fundamentals were solid. At that point, anxiety becomes counterproductive. Trust your preparation and execute the shot." The debrief revealed that Maria's success resulted from integrating multiple disciplines: ballistics engineering, meteorology, precision manufacturing, and advanced marksmanship, into a comprehensive system. Most military snipers specialized in one or two areas while relying on standard procedures for others. Santos had achieved expert-level knowledge across all factors affecting extreme-range accuracy. Colonel Peterson raised questions about training other personnel to achieve similar capabilities. Could Maria's methodology be systematized into a curriculum that would produce more snipers capable of extreme-range precision? The military was constantly seeking ways to multiply exceptional individual capabilities across larger numbers of personnel. "The technical aspects can definitely be taught," Maria responded. "Environmental analysis follows established principles. Ballistic calculations use known formulas. Equipment preparation is mostly attention to detail. The challenge is developing the patience and discipline to execute all these steps consistently under pressure. That requires the right personality and extensive practice." Commander Morrison was already formulating plans for how Santos might contribute to special operations training programs. Her systematic approach could benefit SEAL snipers who often operated in environments where standard doctrine proved inadequate. More importantly, her ability to achieve exceptional results through preparation rather than innate talent suggested that similar capabilities could be developed in other qualified personnel. The discussion continued for over 2 hours as various military representatives explored different aspects of Maria's achievement. Questions ranged from ammunition logistics to equipment procurement to training timeline requirements. Everyone present understood they were witnessing something that would influence military sniper doctrine for years to come. As the formal debrief concluded, Morrison approached Maria privately. "Sergeant Santos, I'd like to discuss some opportunities that might interest you. SEAL Team 6 is always looking for personnel who can perform beyond normal parameters. Your capabilities could prove valuable in situations where conventional approaches aren't adequate." Maria's response was characteristically measured and professional. "I appreciate the interest, Commander. What kind of timeline are we discussing?" Her question revealed that she was genuinely interested in exploring opportunities rather than simply being polite. Morrison sensed that his instincts about her potential had been correct. The record-breaking shot had opened doors that few military snipers ever encountered. Special operations units, military research organizations, and advanced training programs were all expressing interest in Maria's expertise. The challenge would be determining how her unique capabilities could best serve military objectives while continuing to develop her already exceptional skills. 6 weeks after the record-breaking shot, Maria Santos found herself at the Naval Special Warfare Development Group facility in Virginia Beach, undergoing evaluation for potential assignment to SEAL Team 6 Specialized Support Unit. Commander Morrison had convinced his leadership that her extreme-range capabilities could provide tactical advantages that justified the unprecedented step of integrating an Army sniper into Navy Special Operations. The evaluation process was unlike anything Maria had experienced during her regular Army career. Rather than testing standard marksmanship skills, SEAL instructors presented scenarios that challenged her ability to adapt extreme-range techniques to dynamic operational environments. Mock missions required her to engage multiple targets at varying distances while accounting for civilian populations, friendly forces, and rapidly changing tactical situations. "Your Nevada shot was impressive," said Senior Chief Ramirez, the SEAL sniper instructor leading her evaluation, "but we need to know if you can perform under operational pressure with incomplete information and time constraints. Combat doesn't allow 6 months of preparation and perfect weather conditions." The first practical exercise placed Maria in an urban environment mock-up where she had to engage simulated enemy snipers positioned at distances ranging from 1,200 to 2,800 meters. The targets appeared randomly for limited time windows, requiring rapid range estimation, environmental assessment, and shot execution. Standard military sniper training emphasized deliberate, methodical approaches. This demanded split-second decision-making while maintaining precision. Maria's performance exceeded SEAL expectations despite the challenging conditions. Her systematic preparation methodology translated effectively to rapid-fire problem-solving. While other candidates struggled with the compressed timeline, she efficiently prioritized the most critical variables while accepting calculated risks on less important factors. Her Nevada training had taught her which environmental factors were essential versus merely helpful. Commander Morrison observed the evaluations from the facility's operations center, monitoring both Maria's performance and instructor feedback. Early reports were positive. She demonstrated the adaptability and pressure tolerance that special operations demanded while maintaining the technical excellence that had made her famous. More importantly, she showed the intellectual flexibility to modify her approach based on mission requirements. The physical demands of SEAL operations presented Maria's biggest challenge. While her shooting skills were unquestionable, special operations required physical capabilities that exceeded standard Army requirements. SEAL training emphasized endurance, strength, and agility that enabled personnel to operate effectively in austere environments with heavy equipment loads. Maria's smaller frame created advantages for certain shooting positions but disadvantages for equipment transport. "She's not going to carry a Barrett M82A1 through 20 kilometers of mountain terrain," Senior Chief Ramirez observed during a progress review. "But, if we can get her and her equipment into position, she provides capabilities that no one else in the teams possesses." We need to design missions around her strengths rather than trying to make her fit standard SEAL profiles. Maria's technical knowledge impressed SEAL armorers who worked with advanced weapons systems daily. Her understanding of ballistics, ammunition performance, and equipment optimization went beyond typical military training. She could troubleshoot complex equipment problems, modify systems for specific mission requirements, and train other personnel in advanced techniques that most snipers never encountered. The psychological evaluation revealed mental characteristics that aligned well with special operations requirements. Maria demonstrated exceptional stress tolerance, analytical thinking under pressure, and emotional stability during high-stakes situations. Her perfectionist tendencies, which might create problems in some military roles, proved beneficial for precision shooting where small errors could cause mission failure or civilian casualties. Commander Morrison was particularly interested in how Maria's extreme-range capabilities might change tactical planning for future SEAL missions. Traditional sniper support required positioning shooters within 800 to 1,000 meters of target areas, often placing them within range of enemy counter-sniper systems. Maria's ability to engage effectively at nearly 4,000 meters could eliminate this vulnerability while providing unprecedented operational flexibility. Think about hostage rescue scenarios, Morrison explained to his team planning staff. Standard doctrine requires our snipers to position close enough for reliable shots, which limits our approach routes and exposes them to counterfire. Santos could potentially engage from positions so distant that enemies wouldn't even know they're under observation, let alone sniper threat. The integration challenges were significant but not insurmountable. SEAL Team 6 operated with more flexibility than conventional military units, allowing for specialized personnel assignments that supported specific mission requirements. Maria would need additional training in special operations procedures, communication systems, and team coordination, but her core capabilities made the investment worthwhile. Maria's fellow candidates were curious about her background and the unusual path that had brought an Army sergeant to SEAL evaluation. Most had followed traditional special operations career progression through conventional forces, specialized training programs, and gradual advancement. Maria's route through record-breaking achievement was unprecedented in their experience. "I never expected to be here 6 months ago," Maria admitted during an informal conversation with other candidates. "I was focused on pushing the boundaries of what was possible with long-range shooting." Commander Morrison saw applications for that capability that I hadn't considered. Sometimes exceptional performance creates opportunities you never imagined. The administrative aspects of transferring an Army NCO to Navy Special Operations required coordination at levels far above Maria's pay grade. Inter-service personnel exchanges were complex under normal circumstances. Creating a position for someone with Maria's unique specialization involved multiple military departments and required approval from senior leadership who rarely dealt with individual assignments. Commander Morrison had invested considerable personal credibility in advocating for Maria's integration into SEAL operations. His reputation within special operations community provided the influence necessary to navigate bureaucratic obstacles, but he understood that Maria's performance would ultimately justify or condemn his recommendation. Failure would reflect poorly on his judgment and potentially affect his career prospects. The weapons training portion of Maria's evaluation included systems beyond her Barrett M82A1 specialty. SEAL snipers needed proficiency with multiple rifle platforms, each optimized for different mission requirements. Urban environments might require compact systems with suppressors. Maritime operations needed corrosion-resistant equipment. Desert environments demanded different barrel profiles and optical configurations. Maria's adaptability impressed instructors who had expected someone so specialized to struggle with different equipment. Her understanding of fundamental ballistic principles allowed her to quickly master new systems while her attention to detail ensured she learned proper maintenance and employment techniques. Within 2 weeks, she demonstrated proficiency with every sniper system in the SEAL inventory. The final evaluation exercise simulated a complex maritime counterterrorism mission where Maria would provide precision fire support for a SEAL assault team. The scenario involved multiple buildings, civilian populations, and enemy forces equipped with advanced weapons systems. Her role required neutralizing specific high-value targets while avoiding civilian casualties and providing overwatch for the assault force.
Maria's performance during the final exercise validated Commander Morrison's confidence in her potential.
She successfully engaged 7 targets at distances ranging from 1,400 to 3,200 meters while maintaining communication with the assault team and adapting to rapidly changing tactical situations. Her shooting was flawless, but, more importantly, her tactical decision-making demonstrated the judgment that special operations demanded. Senior Chief Ramirez submitted his final evaluation with a recommendation for acceptance into SEAL Team 6 Specialized Support Unit.
"Santos brings capabilities that don't exist elsewhere in our organization," he wrote.
Her extreme-range precision, technical expertise, and operational adaptability make her a valuable addition to our tactical options. Recommend assignment with specialized mission focus leveraging her unique qualifications.
Commander Morrison received notification of the favorable evaluation while planning a deployment that could potentially utilize Maria's capabilities. Intelligence reports indicated enemy sniper activity in an operational area where conventional counter-sniper techniques had proven ineffective.
Maria's extreme-range capabilities could provide the tactical advantage necessary to neutralize this threat while protecting friendly forces. The bureaucratic approval process would take several more weeks, but Maria had essentially earned acceptance into one of the military's most elite units. Her journey from Army Sergeant to SEAL Team 6 had taken less than 3 months, a timeline that would have been impossible without exceptional capabilities and Commander Morrison's influential advocacy. 8 months after her record-breaking shot in Nevada, Staff Sergeant Maria Santos crouched in a concealed position overlooking a valley in eastern Afghanistan. Her Barrett M82A1 was perfectly camouflaged among the rocky terrain, its bipod legs adjusted to provide a stable shooting platform on the uneven ground. 3,000 meters below, enemy fighters had established a sniper position that had been terrorizing coalition convoys for weeks. Today, that reign of terror would end. Commander Morrison monitored the operation from the Tactical Operations Center at Forward Operating Base Chapman, watching drone feeds that showed both Maria's position and the target area. This was her first operational deployment with SEAL Team 6, and success would validate the unprecedented decision to integrate an Army sniper into Navy Special Operations. Failure could cost lives and potentially end her career with the elite unit. "Overwatch, this is Falcon Base," Morrison's voice crackled through Maria's encrypted communications system.
"Target confirmation shows 3 enemy personnel in the primary position, range 2,847 meters.
Wind conditions are favorable, clearance to engage when ready." Maria's scope revealed the enemy sniper position with crystal clarity despite the extreme distance. Her months of training with SEAL Team 6 had refined her already exceptional skills, adding tactical awareness and mission flexibility to her technical precision. The enemy fighters had chosen their position well. It dominated the valley approaches while remaining beyond the effective range of conventional coalition sniper systems. The tactical situation represented exactly the scenario Commander Morrison had envisioned when recruiting Maria for special operations.
Enemy snipers operating from extreme ranges had created a tactical problem that conventional approaches couldn't solve. Coalition forces attempting to clear the position would face accurate fire from an enemy they couldn't effectively engage in return. Maria's capabilities changed that equation completely.
Range confirmed at 2,847 meters, Maria reported through her headset.
Environmental conditions stable, wind 3 to 5 knots from the northeast.
Primary target identified in scope. Her voice carried the calm professionalism that had impressed SEAL instructors during evaluation. Operational pressure hadn't rattled her composure or affected her systematic approach to complex shots. The enemy sniper position consisted of a carefully constructed hide built into natural rock formations. Intelligence reports indicated the fighters had been using this location for over 6 weeks, successfully engaging coalition vehicles and personnel while remaining immune to counterattack. Previous attempts to neutralize the position had failed due to the extreme range and advantageous terrain that favored the defenders.
Maria's pre-shot calculations accounted for the challenging environmental factors present in Afghanistan's mountainous terrain. Altitude effects changed air density compared to sea level shooting. Temperature variations between her position and the target area would affect bullet trajectory. Wind patterns in mountain valleys created complex conditions that could deflect bullets unpredictably during their flight path. Falcon Base,
Overwatch has primary target acquired, Maria reported.
Request clearance to engage.
The formality of Special Operations communication protocols ensured that every shot was properly authorized and coordinated with other mission elements. Unlike her Nevada demonstration, this engagement carried life-and-death consequences for coalition forces operating in the valley below.
Commander Morrison reviewed the tactical situation one final time before authorizing the shot.
Drone surveillance confirmed that no civilians were present in the target area.
Coalition ground forces were positioned safely outside the potential danger zone.
Weather conditions remained within acceptable parameters for extreme-range shooting.
All factors favored a successful engagement.
Overwatch, you are cleared to engage primary target, Morrison transmitted.
Repeat, cleared to engage primary target. Maria's breathing settled into the rhythm that had become automatic through thousands of practice shots.
Her trigger finger found its familiar position on the Barrett's precisely adjusted trigger mechanism. The sight picture through her scope showed the primary target clearly despite the enormous distance. Years of preparation and months of SEAL training had led to this moment. The shot broke cleanly, sending a 750 grain bullet on its nearly 3-second journey across the Afghan valley. Maria maintained her position behind the rifle, watching through the scope for impact confirmation while simultaneously preparing for potential follow-up shots. At this distance, even perfect shots required several seconds before results became visible to the shooter. Drone feeds monitored by Morrison's Operations Center provided real-time observation of the target area from multiple angles. High-definition cameras captured the moment of impact as Maria's bullet struck the primary target with devastating effect. The enemy sniper was eliminated instantly, ending weeks of coalition vulnerability to attacks from that position.
Confirmed target neutralized, Morrison reported to Maria through their communication link. Outstanding shot, Overwatch. Prepare to engage secondary targets as they present.
The elimination of the primary sniper triggered immediate reaction from the remaining enemy fighters. They scrambled to identify the source of the incoming fire while attempting to maintain their defensive position.
Their training had prepared them for close-range engagements, not precision fire from distances they couldn't even estimate accurately.
Maria tracked the secondary targets through her scope as they exposed themselves while trying to locate her position. At 2,847 meters, she remained completely invisible to enemy observation while maintaining perfect visibility of their movements.
This asymmetric advantage represented the tactical revolution that extreme-range sniping could provide to special operations.
Secondary target moving to northern edge of position, Maria reported. Clear shot available, requesting engagement clearance. Her calm professionalism under combat conditions impressed the SEAL personnel monitoring the operation. Combat stress affected even experienced operators, but Maria showed no signs of degraded performance. Cleared to engage secondary target, Morrison authorized immediately. Maria's second shot connected with the same precision as the first, eliminating another enemy fighter and further demoralizing the survivors. 2 successful engagements at extreme range demonstrated that their supposedly safe position had become a death trap. The psychological effect of precision fire from an invisible source was as devastating as the physical elimination of personnel. The remaining enemy fighters abandoned their position within minutes of the second successful shot, fleeing deeper into the mountains rather than risk additional casualties from an enemy they couldn't locate or engage. Mission accomplished, the sniper threat that had dominated the valley for weeks had been neutralized through 2 precisely placed shots from an unprecedented distance. Overwatch, primary mission complete, Maria reported as she observed the enemy retreat through her scope. Position is clear, no further targets present. Her first combat mission with SEAL Team 6 had achieved complete success while validating the tactical concepts that Commander Morrison had developed around her unique capabilities. The operation's success reverberated throughout Special Operations community as news of Maria's combat performance spread through military channels. She had proven that extreme-range precision could be operationally effective under real combat conditions, not just during controlled demonstrations. This validation opened possibilities for similar tactics in future missions worldwide. Commander Morrison's post-mission report highlighted the tactical advantages that Maria's capabilities provided.
Enemy forces operating from positions they considered safe could be engaged without risk to coalition personnel. Complex terrain that favored defenders could be neutralized through precision fire from distances that exceeded enemy weapons ranges. The operational implications were revolutionary.
Maria's integration into SEAL Team 6 was now complete, validated by successful combat performance under challenging conditions. Her unique path from Army Sergeant to Elite Special Operations had culminated in operational success that justified every bureaucratic challenge and training investment. More importantly, she had opened new tactical possibilities that would influence Special Operations doctrine for years to come. The enemy sniper position that had threatened coalition forces for weeks remained silent as Maria packed her equipment for extraction. Her Barrett M82A1 had once again proven its effectiveness at extreme ranges, but, more significantly, she had proven that exceptional individual capabilities could be successfully integrated into elite military units when properly supported and employed. 2 months later, Maria received promotion to Sergeant First Class along with assignment as the primary instructor for SEAL Team 6's new Extreme Range Sniper program. Her Nevada record had launched a career transformation that culminated in establishing entirely new tactical capabilities for America's most elite Special Operations unit. Commander Morrison's faith in her potential had been completely vindicated through operational success that exceeded even his optimistic projections.